What are you doing in here? Are you stuck in the laundry machine? Oh, I'm gonna call for help.
What are you, step bro?
Alright guys, first of all, welcome to my living room. I guess you're gonna get a whole apartment to at some point with these vlogs. And second of all, let's talk Operation Crimson Heist. So the first big change that Ubisoft has been making is actually what they call gameplay activity. And what that refers to is how many things you can do or how much uptime the game has in various stages of the game. So for example, during prep phase, you can drone. That's pretty much it. Once the game starts, you can now move and interact with the world, go for gunfights, go on rappels, etc. But they want to change that slightly. So basically, when you die now, you're able to actually control your drones even after you're dead. And how that works is basically that if you are a Maestro or an Echo, obviously only Maestro or Echo can control their own gadget. And if you're an attacker, let's say you're an Ash and you die on Ash, you can only move your own drones, your 2 drones that you have in your toolkit. You cannot control everyone else's drones and your own. So once you die on attack, as an Ash player for example, you're gonna run into the building with 2 drones in your pocket, you get taken out, what happens next? Well, you'll actually drop those 2 drones on the ground, as far as I understand, and I guess it's kind of like the Dogaby thing where if you play Dogaby and then a defender dies, you'll drop your phone and other defenders can shoot those. So I do imagine that there's a world in which you can kill an attacker and then obviously you gotta try and take out his drones on the ground as well, because if not, the guy you just killed will jump on those drones and start moving them around, and then the person you killed, while you have cleared the utility that they have, they still have the drone information to move around. Whereas normally you would just say, oh, this guy has 2 drones less, and the drone count you got going, if you're a super tryhard player like myself, will be inaccurate, right? So that's kind of cool. And then the second thing, which kind of goes hand in hand, is that they got the operator repick phase. And then it's basically that during the prep phase when you're droning, as an attacker, you're now able to actually change your operator. So say you're playing Twitch, you're droning during the prep phase, and all of a sudden you see that the setup that they're doing doesn't really favor Twitch much. You want grenades instead. You can actually now, during this prep phase, with the information that you've gathered, pick a different operator. And as far as I believe, you can change an unlimited amount of times. So you can go Sledge, and then you're like, oh, you know what, I think Buck is better. And then you're like, oh wait, but Buck lost the grenade, so I'll go back to Sledge, There's some room for errors there. And this basically gives you a chance with the risk versus reward of driving a drone inside the building and gathering information that you can then use to further execute into the round. And I know what you're thinking, but Pengu, if you play Twitch, how are you gonna change the drone? Because Twitch is a Twitch drone and you play Sledge, he doesn't have a Twitch drone, so what happens with the drone that you used? It's actually quite smart. So Ubisoft has given Twitch an extra drone, and I don't mean a Twitch drone. No, during the prep phase, Twitch will have a regular drone that can jump, and then she will spawn with 2 additional Twitch drones in her pocket, meaning that if you are Twitch and you're swapping to a Sledge, the drone that you're using will stay the same. It's not gonna teleport, it's not gonna die, you're not gonna lose it. And if you think about that, there's a slight buff to Twitch. Now, she did lose her flashbangs and was granted smokes, so she has 2 smokes now, and she got a 3rd drone. So if anything, she got like a slight nerf, seeing as flashbangs are probably stronger for ranked players. But at the same time, getting a 3rd drone just gives Twitch a whole new perspective as a more supportive operator, more so than just FAMAS goes brrr, during the game. Now, the reason for these changes is quite simple, and Ubisoft said it during their reveal. They want to try and limit the advantage between defense and attack. And while I am very aware that, Echo and Maestro might become super annoying to play against, I do think that this change is definitely going to target attackers more, and without making defense stronger, it's going to definitely give attackers more tools to deal with the circumstances at hand. Ubisoft has also said that they obviously work on things further down the future, such as ways to basically destroy the Maestro camera glass, meaning that any operator can then walk up to the Maestro bubble, punch it with a melee punch, and the glass will shatter, rendering the Maestro cam useless until it opens up. So if you are Maestro and you go on the camera, the only way to actually gain intel is to go on the bubble and hold right click to open up the shell so that you can shoot. Otherwise, you won't actually gain any information. And with all those kind of tools in mind, I do think that Ubisoft is keeping a very close eye on just how strong Echo or Maestro might become with this change, and that is why I think it's a good thing. Not all players have been saying, oh, but being able to drone while you're dead, that's crazy. But to be completely honest, what if it's not? I'm looking forward to it. We'll try it out in scrims and test server, etc. And to be quite honest, I think it's great that we get these kind of changes on the test build to try out these things, because normally the test server is undervalued, or at least it's not used to its potential. And then of course, next up, now this is kind of like an interesting thing, and I think it's a bit controversial for some people, because someone like Dokebi lost her grenades for this, and they're like, oh, but Dokebi had grenades, that was so great. So the Gone 6, it's a new secondary, not gadget, but pistol that is going to basically give you a single bullet pistol that can destroy any soft breach surface. Shield, castle barricades, maestro bubbles, really anything. So there's gonna be a couple of operators that'll be on screen, and it's gonna be operators that are less played and less accessible, operators like Dokebi, Lion, and Gridlock, where you can pick those operators, but it's very hard to fit them into a lineup. And giving them frag grenades, like Dokebi previously had, just kind of gives them too many things, and it's just too easy to pick them then. So this middle ground between having the Gone 6, being able to be like the medium between like a semi-soft clear with a single charge that you have to use sparingly and accordingly, while still having access to your main weapon, your main secondary gadget, and also having access to your primary gadget. It's very a beautiful balancing point, because it kind of sings the same song as operators like Zero and Fuse having access to the Heart Breach gadget. The small, we call it the can opener in T2. It's like a can opener you put in a wall, and it can make like a jump hole or a vault hole or a crouch hole in through a wall, or it can open a single hatch. It just gives you a whole nother reason as to why you should pick those operators and how they fit into the game. I think it's a very good job, and honestly, I'm super excited for that. It gives small operators that feel useless in certain situations more powers to deal with the things at hand. Then of course, we have this thing called streamer mode. Now, streamer mode I don't need to explain. It's basically gonna be a mechanic that will be able to hide your ping, hide your name, hide your server that you're on, and give you more anonymity when it comes to playing the game, who you are, etc., and who your friends are. And that's gonna give people the option, like myself, content creators primarily, if not only, the option to try and avoid getting stream sniped, which in turn will hopefully make for better content for everyone involved. Big win for us, excited to try it out, and hopefully it'll do a banger job. Nudie is playing with his mouse. I'll show you, he's probably gonna jump after this. It's a super like destroyed mouse that has no purpose left in life than to be tortured by Nude.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
And if you throw it, he actually runs after it. Let's see if we can do it here. Come on, Nude. He plays fetch like a dog. It's really weird. Anyhow, one of the things that I'm the most excited about is actually Melusi. So a lot of people, myself included, have been giving Ubisoft different ideas on how to balance Melusi. And one thing that was actually mentioned was whenever you would step into the Banshee's range, the Banshee is the name of the Melusi's gadget, it would open up and become vulnerable, kind of like when a Meister Cams opens up. And that's actually what they've done. So if you have a Banshee straight ahead, trying to stop Nude from eating the camera here. If you have a Banshee straight ahead of you and you walk within the range, where to the part where it starts whooping you, as we say, it'll open up and you can kill with a singular bullet. What this is gonna change is the frustration level that you're met when you're faced by a Melusi. And I mean, I'm gonna be honest, it's an operator that I've been banning constantly in both Pro League and Ranked, and in tournaments such as the Meme Invitational that we played last night. And what is gonna change with this is that if you wanna put a Banshee somewhere and it has to have like a lot of value, instead of slabbing on the ground seemingly out of nowhere, you kind of need to place it on a, let's say you're playing Clubhouse Basement and you got the hatch and bar taken down to Moto. Let's say you're inside Moto, right? The door into church. If there's a Banshee straight ahead of you, you can just shoot it, and that's kind of low value for the Banshee. So what defenders and Melusis will have to do now is put the Banshee on a 90-degree angle, so on your hard right or your hard left, forcing basically the attacker to move in and flick to shoot the Banshee and flick back and take the gunfight. And it's gonna be more like a bait and swap kind of gunfight engagement, if anything, because if you don't actually swing with the Banshee getting activated, it's just gonna die to a singular bullet. And I think this is exactly what we needed, and I do think that her having 3 Banshees now might not even be a big deal. I still think 3 is a bit much in general for utility, but with it being clearable by soft breach, definitely changes everything around. So excited to try that out as well. So as it sounds like right now, I haven't really said any complaints, and you'll be disappointed if that's what you're expecting, because there aren't any. This is actually the most excited and hyped that I've felt about a Siege reveal panel ever. And there are more things coming that were barely mentioned or maybe mentioned by certain devs on Twitter in like singular posts and stuff. But I do think that the changes in the direction that the game is going right now are actually phenomenal. And I will say that it has brought like a whole new level of passion for me to start grinding the game again and put my hours into it, because I know that these things are not all coming instantaneously. Remember, these are throughout all of year 6, but the fact that they are coming and the fact that this is where we're heading, I'm so excited for it. They're also changing the UI, and I mean, this is like a small thing that doesn't impact, you know, gameplay or anything like that, but Siege is a 5-year-old game. We're entering year 6, and you know, we're 2021 now. It came out in 2015 late. It probably is time for a change. It probably is time for like a big overhaul update, and it did showcase it briefly, and I instantly got like Overwatch kind of vibes from the overlay, but not in a bad way. It just looks more current tech, I guess, in a way. And while it might not seem to suit Siege in the beginning, I do think it will grow on us as time goes on for sure. I have no doubt about that. The last thing, or the last 2 things I want to talk about is that they've changed armor. So instead of having a 3 armor like Rook will just have 140 health. So it kind of works the same way, where instead of having 100 health and getting damage reduction, you'll just have more health. And then you might say, oh, but Pengu, if you have 140 health, how are you gonna die to a headshot? Because headshots do 120 damage. But that's wrong. Sua actually made that comment last night on Twitter. I had to step in and say, Sua, headshots have like a 50 times multiplier. They do like 10,000 damage. It doesn't matter if you're 140 health, overhealed by a dog with Rook armor, and you get wallbang through a wall across the entire map of 50 meters, you're still gonna die to a one-shot headshot by any gun. I think the only way not to is if a gun would be doing 2 damage, like 1 + 1, 2, right? Like 2 damage through multiple layers of penetration, then you would survive a headshot. People, don't be afraid about that. I guess the very last thing, the sun is kind of going down. We're losing light here. We're working with minimal time. Border rework. Now, I haven't played it. I haven't personally attended a test server of it. I will be doing that later today and going forward in the future. My only thought was that there's this person called Spaceman on Twitter. I believe it's a she, but I could be wrong. And she's been making video concepts of reworks and whatnot. And it could be complete coincidence, but the Ubisoft rework of Border looks very, very similar to the one that Spaceman has posted. And that's not a bad thing. But I am curious to see if Ubisoft had the exact same approach to the problems with Border, or if she actually played a big part as a community member, and that her videos got enough reach to actually create some inspiration for Ubisoft when reworking Border. So I think that's super cool. Also, before we end, let me see if I can get some lights on. That didn't do much. Anyway, guys, just wanted to give you an update and kind of give you my thoughts and everything. I didn't want to go into too much depth, because honestly, I think the overall topic of this is, it's great, it's good, and more importantly, I feel like you can tell that it's all going in the same direction. All of these changes kind of play into the same aspects of Siege, the same problems that Siege has been faced with the last 8 or so months. And I actually think that Ubisoft and the developers have been doing a great job at tackling these problems so far, as well as sharing all these ideas that they have with us very early on. Because what they would do in the past was just kind of hide them from us and then bam, they're released. No, they're actually gonna start putting these things into the test servers seasons before they come out, to gather feedback, to test them, to bug fix them, etc. Basically making sure that we're gonna get the best kind of version on the live build once it's ready. So if anything, I'm super excited. We're gonna see me stream Siege a lot in the coming days and coming weeks, and I'll be sure to give as much feedback as I can, as constructive as I can, to try and help make these changes come out the way that Ubisoft and the community envisions. But without further ado, Nudie Man and I says bye-bye, and thank you for watching. Woo! And we will see you guys soon. Bye.
Oh, you're doing the stepbro thing.
Yeah.
I was like, who the f are you talking to right now?
Myself, bro.